समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay, now we take up verse 24. अव्यक्तं व्यक्तिमापन्नं मन्यन्ते माम् अबुद्धयः परं भावमजानन्तः ममाव्ययमनुत्तमम्. The foolish think of me, the unmanifest, as having come to manifestation, not knowing my higher, immutable, and peerless nature. Now, see, interesting. He is calling those people abuddhayah, those people who do not know the higher nature and who think him to be a murti, or who think him to be a form, or who think him to be a human being. He calls them foolish. See, the foolish think of me, abuddhaya, the unmanifest, as having come to manifestation. So clearly he says, not knowing my higher, immutable, and peerless nature. They say that if this is your own nature, the question arises. So any intelligent person is going to ask that if this is your own nature, then how come that you do not see it? How come that you do not know it? How come that you are not able to perceive it? Now, you see, Ramcharit Manas maybe the Lord has said, He has said, Vipradhenu Surasantahita Leena Manuj Avatar. And then he says, Nij Maya Nirmit Tanu Maya Gun Gopar. Now, Maya se bhi pare hain wo. So Maya is Prakriti. He does not come under the Prakriti. Prakriti ke teen gunon mein nahi aate. And go is sense organs. So sense organs, he is beyond the cognition of the sense organs. So the form that he takes, only you can see. But apart from that form, what he actually is, he is beyond Maya. And he is beyond the creation of Maya. He says, Nij Maya Nirmita Tanu. His body is not made because of karma. His body is not created because of that. But when he does take an avatar, he respects the law of karma because he is taking a form. And that is the reason all those ke avatar ke karan or Ram avatar kyun hua, Krishna avatar kyun hua, all those you have. But apart from that, the actual Brahma principle, the consciousness principle is beyond all these. As he says here, that not knowing my higher, immutable and peerless nature, which is, देखिए ये जो अ शब्द लगता है ना, जैसे अजानंतः, अ means not, it is a negative. So अजानंतः means वो नहीं जानते, जानते तो वो शब्द जानते ना आप लोग, तो अजानंतः not knowing. Then abuddhaya, without brains. Now without brains you say brainless or brain dead, or you say without brains. So abuddhaya, here Swamiji translates it as foolish. So those people are foolish who do not know the reality. Okay. Now then, see, just as we don't have the equipment to see germs in drinking water, okay, we all know that many times the water has germs, right? We do many things to purify the water. So many waters have germs in them, But can you see them with the naked eye? You cannot. But it does not mean they do not exist. Gravity, you know it exists, but you cannot see it with your naked eye, right? Protoplasm in a leaf, you know it exists, but you cannot see it with the naked eye. Similarly, this great, grand consciousness principle, the Para Brahma, is the only reality everywhere. And yet, you do not see it because it is beyond the reach of the body, cognitive powers, it is beyond the reach of the mind, even imaginative powers, and it is beyond the reach of the intellect because the human intellect has got limitations, the mind has got limitations. Notice, mind and intellect can only revel in the field of the known. They cannot know at all a field which is they have never seen, or they have never heard about, or they have never tasted or smelt, they do or heard, they do not know. So if you have never experienced it through your senses and somebody names it, then you don't know it. Now, since this great grand reality is beyond the senses, माया गुण गोपार, गुणों से भी परे, माया से भी परे, और गोचर, गोचर मीन ऑल, जो इंद्रिय हैं जो देख सकती हैं उनसे परे, तो अगोचर. And that is the reason you are not able to see this grand reality. Now, germs in the water can be seen only with a microscope, under a microscope. You can see this great grand reality only with the help of the Jnana Chakshu. Till such time that a teacher does not reveal to you the nature of the grand reality, your mind will not even go there. Your whole mind is so obsessed with the body and its needs and the surroundings of the body that your mind does not at all go there. It is beyond the powers of the body, the mind, and the intellect, even when you try to find out. The intellect and the mind are so extroverted that they cannot turn in. Even when you try, haven't you heard a lot of people saying about meditation? I just can't meditate, I can't meditate. I have heard everything, I know everything, I've read about it, but when I close my eyes, my mind goes on a world tour. Isn't it? Now, why does that happen? It happens because your mind is so extroverted all the time. All the things it touches, all the things it reaches, all the things it runs after are outside. Therefore, introspection, in which you have to turn around, is very, very difficult there. Now, here, Vyasa is the writer of the Mahabharata. So, Geeta comes in the middle of the Mahabharata. So here Vyasa, who is the originator of idol worship, he is the one who started idol worship. उसके पहले तो सारे जो वेद ये सब जो, they are all nature worship, worship of the abstract, worship of the formless, the Parabrahma and all that. Now Vyasa started this. He's the Gurudev calls him the father of form worship, but still he realized, Vyasa also realized, that people will be stuck with form worship and they will not go beyond form worship. So he makes the Lord himself say, see over here, the Lord himself say that the foolish regard me, the unmanifest, as having come to manifestation. ठीक है ना? तो वो लोग जो ऐसा सोचते हैं that I am Rama or Krishna or Avatar or this or that, they are foolish, they do not know my real nature. The Lord himself is saying that. So don't miss out on that. Now, इधर देखिए, Uh, this stanza, Gurudev writes that he gives it gives a clear insight that don't mistake the bottle for the contents of the bottle. This is the Gurudev's writing I'm talking about. So Hinduism accepts the idea of avatar. Avatar is divine manifestation, divine incarnation. That is idea is accepted by Hinduism, but it always says that what you see is not what is divine. That is something different. Anything that has a form cannot be all pervading. Think about it. Form is a limiting medium. From this shoulder to this shoulder, that is all my form. The table, from here to there, that is the form. But anything that is formless necessarily has to be all pervading. It has to be everywhere, right? So, formless is necessarily also timeless. That is why these parameters, anadi, akal, हाँ? तो ये सब जो है ना आपके, ये सारे के सारे दे, when you say incarnation, according to Vedant, all of us are incarnations. We are all forms of the divine. Otherwise, you can't exist. You cannot exist. So, उस हिसाब से तो हम भी किसी किसी प्रकार के अवतार हैं. We are also avatars. Of course, then you say that if we are avatars, why don't we manifest those qualities of avatar? So, the difference between a saint and a criminal is only the mind. We have more criminality, we have more negativity, we have more, our minds are full of desire, they are full of garbage, they are full of dirt, and therefore the water, when it is muddy, does not reflect the sun. Or even when it reflects the sun in a very muddy sort of a way, isn't it? Unclear, hazy. So only those saints whose minds are very pure and minds are very clean, that much more divinity they reflect. You see that divinity through their form. You can feel it through them. The reason is only the purity of their minds. Okay, so here you see, and all these great prophets, like Buddha, Mahavir, or any other prophet, Christ, uh, their minds have been very, very extremely pure, and that is the reason that the divine shone through them. It does not shine through people like us, you and me. The reason being because our minds are full of all kind of rubbish. That is the reason you cannot see, huh? And don't judge. Here there is a warning that don't judge saints by their external behavior. Don't judge a guru by his external behavior, because his form is made from karma. It is made by karma. So, certain traces, lingering traces of mental tendencies may be remaining, because of which he will behave the way he is behaving. But don't judge him because of that. He is not at all like you. Take it from me. He is divine. It is divine manifesting through his form. The worship of the Guru in India, all over India. So the worship of the Guru is not the worship of that human being, is not the worship of the form of that human being. Guru Dev used to tell us again and again. It is the worship of the divine that is revealing the knowledge through that form to you. And that is why you rever the form. That is the only reason you rever the form. that the knowledge is coming to you through that form. So that form also becomes divine, and we respect that form, we revere that form. That is how. Hmm? So he again and again says the same thing. He says that you should, the fools or the brainless, abuddhaya, these people cannot see you only because of that. Now, in the Gurudev's Geeta, the next question that comes is, what causes this prevalent ignorance? अच्छा अब ये नहीं दिखता, तो माया का आवरण है, हाँ, Maya is covering our minds with so much of externality that we cannot see. So he says, what causes this prevalent ignorance, of the true nature as explained in the following verse? So we come to this verse now. नाहं प्रकाश सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति लोको मामजमव्ययम्. It says, I am not manifest to all in my real nature, veiled by divine Maya. This deluded world knows not me, the unborn, the imperishable. He is unborn because he is timeless. Anything that is born has to die and is within time. You are born within time, so everybody has a birth date. And when you drop this body, then everybody has a death date, right? So we are limited in time. He says that he is timeless because he is formless, because he is all pervading, and he is imperishable. One that is born and dies is perishable. Anyone limited within time or who works within the framework of time is limited, and he will perish. For sure, he will perish. And so here he says, देखिए, these definitions, ये जो definitions अभी हमने दिए ना आपको, कि timeless and avyayam, imperishable, unborn and all that, these are all indicative definitions. They also know word, the Vedas again and again say that he is beyond the reach of language. So if he is beyond the reach of language, what are we talking about? Isn't it? That's the question any student is going to ask. That, sir, if he is beyond the reach of language, and language is my only medium of uh, gaining knowledge, so then what are we talking about if we can't know him? See, these words are indicative meanings. These words have indicative meanings, and those meanings hint at that great grand reality. And when you think on those directions, these are pointers only. They point towards. The pointer is not the pointed. So these words do not really catch or define the reality. They help your mind to think in the direction of that reality. So the question is that Maya ka avaran hai na pura ka pura, and that's the reason that you cannot see. Acha, abhi Maya kya hai? Then to define the word Maya, he says Yoga Maya Samavrita. It is a great grand power. You know, Maya is nothing. The word Maya means not there, if you translate in English. The word Maya means that which is not. फिर क्या हुआ भाई? Because we can only understand the existence of something through our senses. But something that is beyond the senses, you cannot think. Maya is a power, it is an illusory power that makes you see things that do not exist. It has got a power which is called aghatit ghatna samarthyam. ध्यान से सोचना, aghatit ghatna, something that has not happened, it has the power to, samarthya, power, it has the power to show it to you. So aghatit ghatna samarthyam, it makes that possible which has not happened, which cannot happen. See, there was once I was listening to a very beautiful ghazal, and somehow my mind has become like that. It has a way of interpreting ghazals and all in the Vedantic sense. The line was that lover maybe could not you know complete his relationship with the beloved, so he was remembering the beloved, and he must have remembered the beloved in many many ways before. So he says, मुझे है याद वो सब कुछ जो कभी हुआ ही नहीं. Think of this line. मुझे है याद वो सब कुछ जो कभी हुआ ही नहीं. तो उसको याद कैसे है अगर हुआ ही नहीं? It is there, it was there in his mind. It was always there in his mind. It was happening in his mind. And those thoughts of his beloved, which were there in his mind, he remembers today. And he's saying, but it did not happen physically. Nothing happened physically. Just see how beautiful and delicate the thought is. मुझे है याद वो सब कुछ जो कभी हुआ ही नहीं. What a beautiful idea, huh? So this is something like that. Now I'll give you another example. Acha, another example is, देखिए, this is Gurudev's example, that children are making sand castles near the sea. Okay, वो बनाते हैं ना, घर वर बनाते हैं, कहीं कोई गुड़िया बनाते हैं, कुछ बनाते. So they are doing that, huh? Now, while doing that, the sea is very close to the beach. It is roaring, but they neither see the waves and they neither hear the roar of the sea. How come? They are right there. Their ears and eyes are not closed, but their mind is elsewhere. Got it? The mind is elsewhere. So they do not. Many times when you are reading a thriller, huh? You are reading a thriller, a book, you are so engrossed in it. You read it for 1 full hour, 2 hours, till you come to the end. When you close the book, somebody asks you, what was the color of the pages? Do you remember? No. Because your mind was not on the color of the pages, though your eyes were open and you were constantly reading the book. But your mind was in what is the print? What is he trying to say, rather than the color of the page? So it is just that much, that wherever your attention goes, that becomes the reality for the mind. That is Maya. Another example. देखो, uh, the ghost and the post. Again, the Vedantic example I'm giving you. There, the reality is the post. ठीक है ना? बाहर आपके खिड़की के बाहर एक खंबा, उसके पास कोई पेड़ होगा. Now, you in the darkness are imagining that there is a ghost standing there. Now, the reality for you is only the ghost. Till when? Till you see the post. The moment you see the post, the ghost vanishes. Isn't it? The moment you see the post, even if a little bit of the post you see, the whole ghost is gone. Because what happens? You realize, you see the reality, the illusion is gone. When you see the illusion, the reality is gone. Isn't it? So ये ghost and the post, इसी तरह की रोज आती. Then, so what happens is that what is your true nature, you forget. Whatever is your true nature, you forget. Now, then the other student questions the teacher that if that is my true nature, How can I forget myself? ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता. How can I forget myself? The student is asking. Now the teacher replies कि आप तो रोज ही भूलते हैं. रोज होता है ये तो. कैसे होता है? When you are in deep sleep, yes, don't you forget yourself? You have completely forgotten yourself. You are totally covered by tamas, which is one of the gunas of Maya. So you have totally forgotten your own self, right? Which you consider yourself, that is that body. So in illusion, when you are under the illusion that Maya creates, you think in your waking stage, you think you are the body, and you are completely oblivious of your real self. Only when you see a dead body, you see that this was a shell, the real self was something other. It is very clearly visible to you. Very clearly visible to you. And yet, you and I keep on thinking of ourselves as the body. So, this is the reason why this non dual self is not perceptible to us at all. Now, also, how does this non dual self, देखिए माया से कहते हैं ना, माया से ये सारी दुनिया बन जाती है. भाई भी कैसे बन जाती है? माया इज वन थिंग, द वर्ल्ड is diverse. Look at the variety in the world. So much of variety. You know, there are houses, cars, trees, plants. Every leaf of every tree is different. Every human being is different. Animals are different. Species are different. Look at the water world. My God, how different. And so many unseen creatures like germs and bacteria and all. So different. So how does Maya do that? The example Gurudev used to give was that when from a glass a prism is passed through the sunlight and the glass is cut in many facets, है ना, उसमें से जब लाइट निकलती है, in so many directions the light goes, it changes color in all its beams. The beams are of different length, different shapes, different color, different varieties, passing through the same glass, and they burst into color and all the rest of it. So understand that even this Maya can create an illusion. From one Maya, so many illusions are created. So there is a whole spectrum of the multiple universe which you can see. Okay. Now, all right. Now then, what is the way to get out of this? Isn't it? The student only asks this, कि भैया Maya to is all powerful. Even in the Geeta, the Lord says, Mam Maya Duratkeya. That means my Maya is very, very difficult to cross. So then, if you cannot cross it, what is the whole shooting match about? Why should we be try to be spiritual? Why should we put disciplines on ourselves when that thing, that great grand reality, you cannot reach, you cannot see with your senses, you cannot perceive, you cannot know about it? तो करें क्या? The student asks. Okay. Here the teacher says that there are two ways. How can one get at it? The first, he says, is the special instructions from the teacher. This is number one. Huh? This is on page 42 of my book. I don't know आपकी book में कौन सा page है, but Gurudev's commentary says, gives two things. Special instructions from the teachers. You cannot know it yourself. Absolutely, you cannot. No matter how intelligent you are, no matter how educated you are, you may have gone to the best universities in the world. You cannot know this reality. So, how does one know it? From a teacher who knows, from a teacher who has experienced, and the teacher is able to reveal to you the knowledge. Once you know that knowledge, that is also not enough, mind you. What is the second? The diligent practice on the part of the student. The student has to go through this excruciating thing of Shravan, first listening to the teacher, then Manan. Manan is tapas. According to Raman Maharishi also, Manan is the highest tapas. Manan means deep thinking, because you and I don't think. We don't even have the time to think. हाँ, कोई टाइम नहीं होता. वो घर में दुनिया भर के so many things you are into in the house and even outside the house. Either you are running out of the house or you are inside the house. Whether you are inside or outside doesn't have any meaning, because your mind is always into so many different channels. तो मनन कौन करेगा? For Manan, you need a quiet corner when the whole family is asleep, either early morning, get up early in the morning when the household has not woken up, or late at night when the whole household has gone to sleep. Sit by yourself. Give that time to yourself. Have that luxury of aloneness. Sit alone. एकांत जिसको कहते हैं, एकांत. The goal, ant means the goal, and ek means you want to be alone, single, by yourself. Only then can you do manan. And nididhyasan is the third stage. Nididhyasan is when you, whatever you have thought and you have imbibed and you have assimilated in yourself, that when you think, close your eyes to the world, close yourself to the world, distance yourself from your own personality, and deeply think about the nature of reality. That is called nididhyasan, meditation, which is the last discipline in spirituality. So, if you can meditate deeply, that is the time you will grow. That is the only time you will grow from the absurdity of this individuality into the perfection of the divinity. Okay, so here, that is the only way. Even after having gained the knowledge, you are not able to get it, or because it is imperceptible to the eye, it is inaudible to the ear, and that is the reason. It is something. Now another example he gives is of electrical energy. When you see a bulb, okay, so somebody who has never known electricity, see, Gurudev used to give the example of a villager who came to a town, and the masters employed him as a domestic helper in the house, and they were going out and they said that बत्ती बुझा देना, जैसे हिंदी में कहते हैं बत्ती बुझा देना. Okay, and they went away. Close the lights, switch off the lights, they said. Went away. This fellow did not know that there is a switch, because you press that and the light is switched off. He saw the bulb alight. So when the masters came back, the bulb was still alight. And they said, why haven't you switched it off? So he said, I have blown on it so many times. I have blown on it. मैंने पंखा भी किया, हवा भी करी, पर ये तो बुझता नहीं है. He did not realize that it is not the bulb that is throwing the light. The light is coming from elsewhere. He has to switch off the electricity, which is the real provider of the light. He had never seen it, never heard about it. So you got it? So this is the role of the teacher. The teacher is the one who teaches the student that you are not the body. The body is only a raiment. It is a cloth you are wearing, it is a garment you are wearing, it is a tool given to you to try and recognize who you actually yourself, who you are. Okay, if it is me, then the student asks, okay, same question, that if it is me and you say me must be very, very close to me, how come I never get to know it? He said that is your nature of forgetting who you are. Gurudev used to give the example of the हाउसवाइफ्स कीज, यू नो वो चाबी का गुच्छा वो यहाँ लगा के रखती है ना हाउसवाइफ्स, दैट नाउ दैट की is tucked in her sari. She thinks she has lost it and she is looking all over. She is miserable. She is imagines all kind of things. Someone has stolen it. I may have dropped it on the road. I don't know where all did I go. Where it had was in my hand. God knows where it went. All those things wo sochti till somebody points out to her that, oh, here it is. It is tucked in your own sari. And suddenly all the worry, all the anxiety, all the fear disappears. What has she recognized? That it is with me, myself. It never went anywhere and it has not come from anywhere. It is only the realization that it is with me. The fear and anxiety was till she felt that it is lost and it is not with me. The same is the case when you see the illusion of waters on a desert. The water clothes the desert. The water covers the desert. So you do not see the sand, you see the water, isn't it? When you come closer and you see that this is not water, it is the sand, then all the water disappears. ये वही चीज है और ऐसे ही करके ये होता है. Now come to the next verse. वेदां हम समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्याणि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन. Okay, now look at this, what he says. I know, O Arjuna, the beings of the past and present and the future, but no one knows me. Oh, Gurudev used to say this is the only tragedy in Krishna's life. Nobody knows him. Nobody knows him. He is not at all famous. Krishna is not talking about Krishna the shepherd or Krishna the blue boy of Vrindavan or Krishna the king of Dwarka. He is not talking about that. So what is he talking about? You know, in the same Geeta, he has said that 1 in a million knows me. इसी टेक्स्ट में कहा है उन्होंने 1 in a million knows me. Now he is saying that nobody knows me. Now, so this is a contradiction in terms. तो ये हम लोगों की भाषा में कभी कुछ कहते हैं कभी कुछ कहते हैं. You know, he is contradicting himself. Okay. He is not, the answer is that he is not an object of cognition. He is not an object that can be known. That way nobody can know him. Right? जैसे हम और आप जानते हैं ना, all our source of knowledge is from objectivity. Either a book or an experience or a teacher or something we have seen, heard, tasted, smelled, right? Felt with our hands, or even felt with our emotions, or even imagined. Kalpana matra. ठीक है? तो all those things again are objective. Now, when something is not objective, it is you yourself, then what do you say? You can't say, I know myself. I know me. You can't, because they are not two things. You are that. That is what the scriptures tell you, that you are divine. The body is just these five elements, and it will go back. We all know it is made from food and it goes back to food. है ना? Dinner and supper for the worms, or it goes back into the five elements and gets recycled. It comes from the food your parents ate. तो food ही तो है ना. The body is just a food sheath made from food, becomes food, is sustained by food. So, फिर what is the reality of you? It never went anywhere. It has not come from anywhere. When you realize the reality of yourself, then you do not. I mean, Krishna can say, nobody knows me. Objectively, nobody knows him. But when he says 1 in a million knows me, it means that he recognizes that he himself is the reality. You wake up to your higher nature, just like from a dream. In a dream, you were a beggar. No one could convince you that you are not a beggar. Nobody. All the pain, the hungers of the beggar were yours. The tattered clothes were yours. The begging bowl was yours, isn't it? But when you woke up as a king of your surroundings. You woke up as a rich man. You woke up in a palace that you own, isn't it? So, the same way that when you recognize the truth of who you are, it is only then and then alone that you understand the reality. So, not objectively, but you recognize your own self. ये तो मैं तो कुछ और ही हूँ. I am not that. You know what? Same story as that Lion King. Everybody must have seen. है ना, वो जो उसमें कहानी नहीं है शेर की, कि the cub of the lion, he doesn't know that he's a lion, so he bleats like a lamb and he goes about playing with lambs because he doesn't know that he's a lion, till another lion, grown up lion, comes and he takes the cub and shows him his face in the water, and the lion recognizes that, oh, he's a lion, he's not a sheep, and that he can roar. So all the power of the lion comes into him once he recognizes his true self. Do you think he will bleat like a lamb anymore? He will never bleat like a lamb because he is now learned to roar like a lion. Right? So this is it. So Gurudev used to say that all of you, हम लोग को कहते थे, that all of you are like little children playing in a dirty ditch, and I pick you up from there. I bathe you, I clean you, and I put you on my lap. I embrace you. Hmm? But the moment I loosen my embrace and let you go, you crawl back into the dirty ditch, and in 5 minutes you are dirty again. Haven't you seen all little children do that? The mother painstakingly cleans you, and in 5 minutes you are back there into the filth, back again into the dirt, because we do not have that sustainability, that sustaining power we do not have. Okay. See, the self is everywhere. It blossoms in the same conscious principle that illuminates hmm, the irrespective thoughts and ideas. Naturally, therefore, the self represents the awareness that illumines or knows. That itself is the knowing principle. How can you know that? A telescope can see the moon. A telescope can see the stars. Through the telescope, the seer is seeing all that. But the telescope cannot see the seer. Through the telescope, the seer cannot be seen because he is the seer. Similarly, he is saying over here that a, I am you yourself. So how can you see me? Gurudev used to give another example of a torch, that in the light of the torch you can see everything. It is the battery that is empowering the bulb of the torch to throw light where you can see. But in that light, you cannot turn the light to the battery and see the battery. Though the battery is the light giver, you cannot see the battery, right? So here it is the same thing. Gurudev also used to say, none of you have the purity, the tranquility of the mind that is required to recognize, even try to recognize the higher. He used to say this to us. He used to say that you cannot even try, leave aside recognizing, but your mind has so much of turmoil in it that it will not reflect the divine. Dekho, a bucket of water. The sun can reflect, the clean water, the sun can reflect honestly, absolutely meticulously in that water, isn't it? It can throw light, it can heat the water. It has got so much of light that you cannot look into the bucket. You know, your eyes see the same light as the sun, and you cannot see the reflection. So the qualities of the sun are reflected very clearly in clean, stable, still water. But the moment you shake the water in the bucket, the same sun cannot reflect the same light, isn't it? Same way, when the mind is shaky, or the mind is full of negativity, or the mind is anxious, irritable, sorrowful, divinity will not reflect through that mind. It cannot reflect through that mind. So you, as Gurudev used to say, you cannot even try to recognize the higher, leave aside recognizing the higher. Even to try to do that, you have to first and foremost purify your mind. There are many, many techniques given even in the Geeta, in many other scriptures, on how to purify the mind. Mind and intellect equipment. If the equipment is not ready, then it will not see. Now you have to recognize that the eyes do not see. There is, the eyes are only flesh. Have you seen a dead man's eye or any dead animal's eye? It is only flesh, flesh and veins and all. It can see nothing. So the seer was different from the eye. Upanishad. Huh? Upanishad is all about this only. That who is the seer? The eye is not the seer. Who is the hearer? This ear does not hear. Who is the taster? So all these, you have to have that kind of mental poise, you have to have that tranquility, you have to have that mental purity to even try to reach the higher. Okay, now then, the knower, see, the knower is somebody who has already reached there. You cannot know a thing if you know nothing about it. How can you know? So the teacher shows you the way, but to reach there, you yourself have to reach there. The teacher is only a holiday folder of a hotel कि यहाँ पहुंचना है, देखो यहाँ ये मिलेगा, ये मिलेगा, ये मिलेगा. देखे ना फोल्डर्स आप लोगों ने? हाँ, where ads go about a beautiful place, a beautiful hotel where you can stay, and what are the views from there, this, that, and the other. But a folder is a folder. Once you have gone and seen the place yourself, experienced it yourself, only then you know. But for that, you have to make an effort. If you have to go to Vrindavan, you have to take the journey. You have to pack your bags. You have to make the effort to take the journey. है ना? हाँ. और फिर आपको गोवर्धन की परिक्रमा करनी है तो आपको चलना पड़ेगा. That also without shoes. Those of you who have done the parikrama will know how tough it is. 21 kilometers without shoes and slippers, you walking around. So the effort is all yours. The teacher is only like a pointer. The teacher, Gurudev used to call himself a traffic policeman. He used to say, I am only showing you the way. Okay, go this way, please. This way. Not that way, this way. That is all the role of the teacher. That's a big role, mind you. Otherwise, you get lost. You will get lost. So the teacher who knows the rasta will tell you. He will also tell you about the impediments on the way. He will tell you, don't do this, do this. That also the teacher's role. Yes. He will point to you. But he cannot take you there. You have to go your own self. And that is why he says that there are very few, there is nobody who knows me, also, he says. And then he says, 1 in a million knows me. Now, ये देखो, he calls himself timeless. He calls, ये देखिए, I know, Arjun, the beings of the past, the present, and the future, but no one knows me. Now let me come to this. He says, I know the beings of the past, the present, and the future. ठीक है? What is this statement? This statement points to a timeless entity. He is beyond time. He was there beyond before time. देखिए, to know the past. If you say, I knew the first second of time, supposing you say that, you had to be there before that. Carefully. If you were not present there to know the first unit of time, how will you know it? If you arrived in the second unit of time, you cannot know the first. Got it? So he is the creator of time, the originator of time. So he is the only one who was there before time began. है ना? And he will also be there till the end of time. And therefore he says, I know the beings of the past, I know the beings of the present, and I know the beings of the future. So he is timeless, he is beyond time. And sorry, also he is not the doer. When he is saying I, ये देखो यहाँ पे कह रहे हैं ना, I know. When he says I know, he is saying it not like the doer. Please be very, very careful when he says I know. I know means I illumine. There is no doership in him. He does not do. I'm going to give you an example. The sun. Okay? The sun empowers all of us to see. Yes. The sun throws heat. Yes. The sun gives nutrition to the plants? Yes. All that you say. But the sun does not do anything. Carefully. Doership is different. When the sun says, I do, he does nothing. He just, by his mere presence, all these things take place. So when the Lord says, I know, it is not the doership of knowledge that I know. I is somebody and I know, and that somebody. He is knowledge himself. Through his very presence, knowledge takes place. He is the knowledge principle. And that is the reason he says that I know. Hmm? Dekho, the capability of the mind, the dynamism of the mind to know, the capacity of the intellect to dissect, to discriminate, to logic, all that capability is he himself. He is not the intellect, he is not the mind. He empowers thoughts. Otherwise, there is no such thing as thought. Does the dead man have a thought? Hmm. He empowers even your thinking. He empowers your intellect to rationalize, to logicalize. He empowers all that. He does nothing by his mere presence. Sanidhya matrena kaunteya, he says in the Geeta, that through my very closeness to things, through my very presence, things happen. So when he says, I know, he has no knowerhood, as Gurudev puts it, very nicely puts it. There is no knowerhood. He is not the knower. He is the knowing principle. He breathes for you. Think about it. He breathes for you. Otherwise, if you say, I breathe, huh, then फिर क्या होगा? If you are you conscious of your breathing? When you are talking, when you are sleeping, even when you are in deep sleep, do you breathe? Oh, who is breathing for you? Through the night, when you cannot even lift a little finger, you are not even conscious of your own self. Who is breathing for you? It is He alone that keeps drawing your breath in and throwing it out, drawing it in, throwing it out. He is the conscious principle that allows you to breathe. He breathes for you. He digests your food for you. He is the capability. He is the knowing principle. He is the doer without doership. He is the knower without knowerhood. In his very presence, things happen. Even Maya functions because of him. Maya has been called Maya, the principle of Maya. When he functions through Maya, he is called Ishvara. When he is just by himself, motionless, not nothing is happening, he is called Parabrahma in the Hindu philosophy. He is Brahma, and only the all that is being done by Maya. And when he functions through the equipment of Maya, he is called Ishvara by Hindu philosophy. Okay, so the Brahman functioning through Maya is Krishna, also Krishna himself. Okay, now the only way to release yourself of a bondage is to understand that there was no bondage in the first place. So long as you think that there is a knot to be opened, you can keep trying to open it through spiritual practices, but it will not open. The knot, there is no knot. In the first place, there was no knot. हाँ, उसको कहते हैं हिंदी में माया ग्रंथि. Maya Granthi means it is an illusion created by Maya. So, all your problems in the world are an illusion created by Maya. But frankly, there is nothing. All your fame, name, and shame will all disappear in a few years' time. Even your great grandchildren will not know your name. Risen from the ocean, the wave rising from the ocean, going back to the moon, into the ocean, all a Maya play. Okay? Okay, now we stop here, and next time we will do verse number 27. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.